The Mirror of Thorns. Part 1. The music beneath the stone. They say the chateau once belonged to a musician. Others say it was a monastery before the musician came and brought sin to its stones. No one alive remembers the first note played beneath its arched ceilings, but the wind still carries fragments of melodies through its hollow halls. And sometimes, at dusk, candles light themselves in windows long shattered by time. I came there not to study it, nor to preserve it, but to disappear inside it. My name matters little now, though once it hung from marquees, and was whispered in salons Adrien Delacroix, the violinist who never aged, whose hands never trembled, whose eyes never left the past. I sought the house because it was forgotten. I stayed because it remembered. The chateau sat just outside Provence, nestled between rotting vineyards and cypress trees, too tall to grow naturally. No path led to its door. Only the scent of lilac and the memory of footsteps guided me there. When I arrived, the air was heavy with dusk and ruin. Ivy clung to its stone face like veins on a corpse. The front doors, warped and swollen, opened without touch. And within, the house breathed a deep, aching sigh of recognition. The hallways were lined with portraits that bled into the walls, oil and dust married by moisture. A grand staircase spiraled up into silence, its banister cold despite the summer heat. And the music? It came not from any room, but from beneath the floors, soft, slow, played by hands long dead. I followed it, of course, down into the root of the house, past wine cellars sealed with stone, into catacombs lined not with graves, but mirrors. Hundreds of them, all old, all tarnished, some cracked, none reflecting my face. That was when I knew this house had once belonged to one of my kind. I had not fed in days, and yet I felt no thirst. The walls throbbed with memory. Each mirror hummed with silent song. And at the center of the labyrinth stood a grand piano rotted, lid open, keys exposed like bone. The bench before it was empty, but the keys depressed themselves, one by one, playing a nocturne I knew I had never heard, and yet had always known. She appeared on the third night, not as a shadow or whisper, but as a reflection one of the mirrors finally chose to reflect. She stood behind me in that silver pool of glass, wearing a morning dress of velvet and gauze. Her hair was black, thick as ink. Her eyes were gray and distant, like the sky before a storm. "You came late," she said, her voice breaking through the centuries between us. But the house waited. I turned, and she was gone. The mirror showed nothing but the empty room and the dead piano. Yet when I touched the glass, it was warm. Her voice echoed again. "Will you remember me this time?" The night stretched like spilled ink. I ceased to leave the catacombs. The house did not resist me. It wrapped me in silence and shadow, offered me candles that burned without wicks, and mirrors that watched as I slept. She returned each night, always in the glass, never in flesh. Sometimes she sang in a voice older than my birth. Sometimes she wept. And always she asked the same question. "Do you remember me?" I began to see fragments, visions stitched together by dreams and blood, a violinist in another century, a woman in black always watching from balconies and pews, a kiss at midnight, a promise broken, a crypt sealed, and always the music, the same nocturne echoing through stone, a melody written in longing. One night I bled. It was impossible. I had not bled in 2 centuries. But I woke to find my palm caught by a sliver of broken glass. The mirror nearest me had cracked, the fracture running in the shape of a thorned vine. Beneath the wound on my hand, her name appeared carved into flesh by no visible blade. Celine. That same night, I found the hidden door. Behind the last mirror was a staircase that spiraled not down, but in. The stone turned warm beneath my feet, and the music grew louder. I descended into a chamber lit by candlelight that moved like breath. In the center stood a casket made of black glass, surrounded by a circle of dried roses and faded sheet music. And within the casket, she lay not a ghost, but a revenant, trapped between the hush of the grave and the hunger of the living. Her eyes opened as I approached, not fully, just enough for memory to bleed between us. "You left me," she whispered, and the roses turned to ash. "You forgot." I fell to my knees. I saw it all. The night I drank from her, the vow I broke, the soul I fractured. She had loved me once, and I had loved her. But immortality makes cowards of us all. I had fled before she could change, before the curse could take her, and sealed her here to sleep through the centuries I was too weak to share. But now I had returned, and she remembered. She raised her hand, and the mirrors above the chamber shattered one by one. Light poured through them, not sunlight, but moonlight older than any I had known. It touched her, and she breathed. "You must finish the song," she said. "Only then can we begin again." I looked down, and in my hand was the violin I had buried in Venice in 1813. The bow was strung not with horsehair, but with hair the color of her eyes. I raised it to the strings, and the air thickened with silence. The house waited, the dead watched, and I played. To be continued in Part 2, the Blood Sonata.